Thanks for joining me for this course, and welcome to day one of the course or lesson one. You can take these in any amount of time that you want. So today I wanted to talk about the question that I get most often when I'm talking to people who are new to Bitcoin. Almost all of them want to know, how does Bitcoin have value? Why is it worth anything? So that's what we're going to cover in lesson one today. So why is Bitcoin worth anything? And I think the best way to answer this is to ask why money, any sort of money, has value. And there's three main reasons I believe that money or things that are exchanged for money or for other goods and services have value or are worth something. And then there's some subsections of those that we'll get into as well. But first of all, money has value because people believe it do. I think that's the simplest answer. People believe that money has a way to transfer value from one person to another. They believe it works, right? And they're willing to use it. And we'll get into some of those reasons why people feel that way, why they have that trust, and why they're willing to use it. Another reason why money has value, because most money doesn't have value in and of itself. If I take a dollar bill out of my wallet, you can see that there's really nothing special about this dollar bill here, this $5 bill, right? It's a piece of paper. It has no truly inherent value, but there's a promise behind it, right? We believe that we can trade this to other people for what we perceive to be, or what we believe to be $5 worth of value, right? We also believe that our government, the United States government, will back this money up, all right? That's what we believe. That's why we trust that this piece of paper has value, why it's worth something. And we also believe that we can trade things like this, money like dollar bills, for other things that we need that have value, right? Commodities. Commodities are things that are usually things that can rot or be destroyed or will waste over time. Things like food, things like water, other things that are somewhat something that we need in our life, right? Food, shelter, clothing, entertainment, things like that we want as well. And we believe that we can trade money for those things. And so therefore money has value to us, because we know that when the time comes, we believe we'll be able to trade money in for things that we need or that we want, okay? So what are some of the other reasons that money has value? What are some of the qualities of money that give it value? And these are some important things. There's a lot of reasons out there. These are some of my very favorite. I think they're very simple to understand as well. First of all, money is what's called a store of value. And a store of value means that over time, it will keep its value, all right? So again, going back to a dollar bill, over time and with inflation, this dollar bill will not keep its value as good as, say, a piece of gold. A piece of gold will keep its value far longer and far better, infinitely, as far as we know throughout human history. Gold has been worth, when you look at studies, that it's been worth very similar to what it's worth today. It can buy a similar amount of things today as it could 5,000 years ago, or as old as the records we have, at least from the times of the Romans. We can see that there's very similar values. Another reason that money has value or qualities that make it useful to us is it's portable, right? It's portability, meaning we can carry it with us. This dollar bill is very easy to carry with me. I can carry it anywhere in the United States and exchange it for something that I feel is worth $5, and that someone feels they're willing to sell to me for $5. So it's portable, it's easy to take with me, right? Easy to carry. It's acceptable, okay? That's another good thing about these dollars. I can go anywhere in the United States and trade these $5 for $5 worth of food, $5 worth of entertainment, $5 worth of whatever I want to use it on. Now, once we go outside of the United States, it's a little bit less acceptable. There's some countries that not many people want dollars. There's other countries where people will totally take your dollars because the US dollars are going to hold their value. They're going to be a better store of value than whatever the local currency is that people are using, all right? So acceptability, it's a network effect. Like Facebook is a much better, it's more acceptable, more valuable to people than MySpace is, right? Because more people are using it, right? So acceptability is the value that money has based on how many people are willing to use it to exchange for goods and services. It's also divisible. That's another important piece of money. So this $5 bill, I can trade it for 5 $1 bills. I can trade those $1 bills for 4 quarters. I could change those 4 quarters for a combinations of dimes and nickels, right? That divisibility makes that money more usable and helps people to want to, or gets people to want to use it because it is easily divisible. All right. Another thing is the uniformity of money. All right. So this $5 bill looks exactly like every other $5 bill. Why is that important? Well, you know it's the same thing no matter which one you get. You recognize easily for what it is. There's other forms of there's other items that we put value on that don't have uniformity. Things like art, things like real estate, right? Not every house is worth the same, but it's a house, right? It's one unit, it's one living unit, one picture, one painting of art, right, is similar to another, but there are some subtle differences. The uniformity that makes them different, so you don't give them the same value, and that's important in money. You want to have a supply of money that is uniform, that's easily recognizable, and that where people are going to recognize that that has about, that's $5. That's easily to recognize. I know that has $5 worth of value. Okay. Now we're getting into some of the most important parts of money, and one of those is scarcity. So what's the supply like? Is there a huge supply of it? Is it easy to create more of it, or is it hard to create more of it? And again, going back to the example of dollars are very easy to create, all right? These paper dollars are fairly easy to print, and electronic dollars that like we have in our bank accounts are even easier, right? You can create them in no time out of nothing. If the United States government wanted to, they could 10 times our money supply, or the Fed, I should say, if they wanted to, could 10 times our money supply overnight. Now, they wouldn't do that because it would ruin the value of that money. It would ruin its scarcity, right? When you have too much, an abundance of things, something will not hold its value. Gold, over the history of humankind, has been pretty scarce, all right? Not only has it been pretty scarce, but it's been pretty hard to produce new gold. It's not easy to go and mine gold. And so it requires a certain amount of effort, which eliminates a lot of people from wanting to go do that work to get gold. They'll do something that they're more comfortable doing in order to earn gold or other money to exchange for services, right? So scarcity is an important part of money. If there's too much of it, it's not going to be worth anything. If there's little of it and it's hard to produce more, people are going to value it more. Another thing that not many people talk about, but I feel is a very important part of money that we're starting to get into in the digital age is its inherent security. So what is it naturally secure? And most things that we use for money are not naturally secure. And this is going to play into why Bitcoin has value, or one of the ways that it has tremendous value, because there's not a lot of other things outside of other cryptocurrencies that have an inherently secure nature to where they're naturally secure. And Bitcoin does. And not only does it have it, but it is much more inherently secure than almost every other cryptocurrency that I know of, right? So it's inherently secure. And if it's not inherently secure, if it doesn't have natural security built into it, how much does it cost to secure? So the cost to secure is a factor. So let me give you an example of that. So gold has no inherent security. There's nothing that protects gold from being stolen naturally, right? Or taken. And it can be expensive to protect gold. It could be cheap. You could have a few gold coins that you toss in your drawer in your bedroom, and it costs you nothing to secure that. Now, once you start to amass and accumulate a lot of gold, now we're talking about the cost to secure it and why that makes it more expensive. And even though gold is portable, it's really hard to transport large amounts of gold safely, even across states, right? So again, that inherent security and the cost to secure something are also what gives things value, what gives money, different types of money value. All right, so I want to give some examples of money now. I've kind of talked about some a little bit. I just want to revisit some of them because I think it's the best way to help you understand why Bitcoin has value, why it's worth something when you compare it to other forms of money. Because anyways, we'll get into it. Bitcoin has value like other forms of money, and let's talk about some of those. So we've talked about dollars a lot today and how dollars have value. We all agree, like we go anywhere and people think, yeah, that's $1, that's $5, that's worth something, right? So here is, 2 king-size candy bars, right? That's what I think $5 is worth. Okay, great. So let's stack up dollars. Let's put a report card, so to speak, on those characteristics or qualities that we talked about that give money value and create value for people who want to use money. First, dollars are very portable, like we talked about. They're easy to transport. You can take them all over the world. You can do it anywhere in the world. You can take them in outer space if you want, right? They're very, very paper, dollars, cash from other currencies too. It's very portable, all right? It's acceptable. It's widely used, all right, to a certain degree, right? That's why dollars are widely used in the United States. Euros are widely used in Europe, right? Pounds sterling are widely used in the UK. All right, divisible. Cash, dollars is very divisible. Very easy to divide up so that you can break it into smaller quantities to buy things that you feel are of smaller value. All right, it's uniform. Like people recognize it. We talked about this already. It's universally recognizable. It's denominated or put into incremental values that we recognize easily and know that is what it says, what it claims to be. Durable. Durability is another key quality of money that's important. And does that mean durability means like how well does it last, right? So if I'm using apples for money, apples are going to last what? Weeks, maybe a month tops, right? So they're not as durable. I want something that's going to last and it's going to be more durable. So dollars, those are some of the pros to dollars and why dollars and cash and fiat currencies have money. So that also has some cons on some of these values that we've talked about. The dollars are not very, they're not very scarce, okay? It's easy to print new dollars and it's been done a lot. As a matter of fact, I think this is 2023, and as of the last 3 years, like close to half the dollars that have ever been printed have been printed over the last 3 years. So its scarcity is very low, and the ability to create new dollars is very easy, right? It's susceptible to being created very easily, which reduces its value. Okay, so now let's talk about another form of money, gold. Okay, gold has been one of the best forms of money across human history. And because it has all these characteristics where dollars may have portability, uniformity, accessibility, but they're lacking inherent security, they're lacking scarcity, they're lacking store of value, which was another one we didn't cover, but store of value. Dollars don't keep their value well over time. They keep their value over time well compared to other currencies. They've done very well there, but compared to commodities, compared to stocks, compared to the things that we buy with money, those things have increased in value against dollars because dollars have been inflated. The supply has been increased, thereby lowering the value of those dollars and costing more dollars to buy goods and services as a result. But gold has a good portability, medium portability in some cases. If I'm transporting a small amount of gold, it's very easy to do that. I can put a couple gold coins in my pocket. I can travel almost around the world. There's some countries that probably won't let you in with gold, but it's fairly easy. It's fairly portable. Now, when you get into higher amounts of gold, it's very unportable. It gets very hard and costly and dangerous even to transport gold. Acceptability, gold is very good for acceptability. People recognize gold again all over the world and are willing to trade in gold. Divisibility, this is where it's a little bit moderate to low. Yes, it's very divisible. Gold actually has some natural qualities that make it easy to divide and maintain itself, but for the average person to divide it into the right amounts for the right things, it makes it a little bit more difficult. It's definitely, I think everybody watching this, you guys know that it's easier to divide up dollars than it is to gold to pay for smaller amounts of things with smaller value. Uniformity. Gold has great uniformity. It's extremely uniform. It doesn't break down. It doesn't decay. It maintains its natural structure very well. It's very durable. Store of value, it's very good. Over time, like I said, since they have records of what things cost, like bushels of grain, things like that from the Roman era, and they're fairly similar to what we're paying today in terms of ounces or grams of gold. It's pretty impressive. So gold has been a very good store of value over time and over space, right? Scarcity, very good. Again, it's not easy to produce new gold. It does fluctuate, but really compared to the supply, its current supply, it usually fluctuates between 1% to 2% new growth or new supply of gold every year. Sometimes I think it's been higher than that, but the periods where it's been higher, between 2% to 3%, are very rare over the course of history. So it's not very easy to produce new gold, which keeps the scarcity high and which keeps its value high, and makes it into a good store of value as well. Inherent security, gold has no inherent security. There's no natural qualities to gold that make it easy to secure. And again, as we talked about earlier, the more gold you have, the harder it is to store. And then the cost to secure obviously goes up with the more you have as well, too. So now let's talk about Bitcoin. We've talked about all these things that give money value. How does Bitcoin stack up? Why? I think you're going to be able to start to understand now why Bitcoin has value, right? Portability, it's amazing. It's like as good as anything out there, if not better. It's so easy to take Bitcoin anywhere. We'll talk about this in the future, but if you can memorize 12 words, you can take Bitcoin anywhere with you, even if you don't have a digital device. It's pretty impressive. Acceptability is very good and getting better every day. And it really is only a matter of time. Actually, you can buy things with Bitcoin all over the world right now. It's just that you don't have a lot of people that are using it yet. The network effects are still a little bit smaller. There's a lot more people using Facebook right now than are using Bitcoin, but that will change. Bitcoin will eventually catch up with Facebook and finally surpass it, and other forms of social media, other networks. Bitcoin is going to be a very powerful network for the use of money. It's going to be very acceptable. It's going to be the most acceptable thing probably within the next decade or so. Divisibility. Bitcoin is extremely divisible. You can break Bitcoin into 100 millionth of a Bitcoin to divide in value. And the way it's increasing in value somewhere down the road, it's possible it may need to be made even more divisible than that. And that would be very easy to do with coding changes by Bitcoin developers. So that would be easily fixable. It is now currently the most divisible thing out there, and it has the ability to become even more divisible. Durability is excellent, right? Bitcoins do not decay. And as long as there's one computer on the world that has a record of the Bitcoin ledger, it's simply an accounting, if you want to think of it as a digital version of an accounting book that shows who has what amounts, it's durable forever. Store of value, excellent. There's really nothing like it for a store of value. Bitcoin will only ever have at most 21 million Bitcoins. All right. And the fact that its supply is increasing now, but every year it's increasingly smaller, every 4 years, I should say, the supply gets increasingly smaller. So its store of value is maintained through scarcity, which is the next quality, which again, it has excellent scarcity. It's as scarce as anything we have out there currently right now that we use for a form of money, and actually much more scarce than most of them. So that's going to give it great value over time. Not many people talk about inherent security or the qualities that make something naturally secure, because that's never really been a quality of money. All right. But it is now because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is inherent security. Bitcoin has excellent inherent security. As a matter of fact, it could be said that Bitcoin created inherent security. It's the first thing that is inherently secure. It is in the nature of Bitcoin, the way it's stored on the Bitcoin network makes it extremely secure. Very hard to steal, very hard to hack into, and the cost to secure it is extremely low to free. If you don't spend your Bitcoin, you pay absolutely nothing for it, and it stays there forever. forever. It'll never go away. It will be secure, it will be safe, and it costs you nothing to do that. Dollars, on the other hand, dollars can be fairly expensive at times to secure. If you've ever done any business banking, you'll know it costs money to keep a business account open. And some personal accounts as well cost money to keep them open. Just to store dollars, something that should be super easy, cheap, free to secure, right? But they're not. And they're not inherently secure either. Dollars, even stored in banks, there's people on the inside of banks who have been caught fraudulently stealing dollars from the bank, from the customers, what have you. It does happen, not very often, but there is no inherent security that prevents this from happening. Bitcoin is extremely secure on the Bitcoin network. Nobody has ever hacked into somebody else's address yet and stolen their Bitcoin. Have people lost their keys and other people recovered them? Yes, that happens, but that's a physical thing. That's nothing in the nature of Bitcoin. That's unfortunately in the nature of human beings that we can lose things like that. But even that is very rare. And there's excellent ways and systems to set up so that you can protect yourself against losing your keys to Bitcoin and making sure you always have them. And we'll talk about that in other lessons and in other courses. So again, you can now see how Bitcoin is such a good source, such a good money, right? Why it has value. It does all these other things that other traditional forms of money do. And in many cases, it does them much better than what the traditional forms of money do. Now, to close, I want to talk about one last thing, one more very important reason that Bitcoin has value. Bitcoin has value because it is proof of work. You may have heard that statement or not. If you haven't, proof of work means there has been work done in order to create that Bitcoin. Each Bitcoin out there was mined by what's called a Bitcoin miner. It's essentially a computer that has done work. That is, the owner of that computer paid money to buy the computer, spent their time getting it set up, paid for electricity to run the computer so that it could run the Bitcoin software, the Bitcoin algorithm, as you may have heard it. So it does this hashing, this secure cryptography that it uses and does over and over and over to produce the ledger or the account of Bitcoin digitally, all right? So effort has gone into producing that. And because people have used their time and their resources to create or make or earn Bitcoin, however you want to look at it, they value that. And they're not going to give that up for free. They're going to only give it up usually when they can make a profit based on how much they spent to make that Bitcoin or earn it. So they want to recover their costs and make a little profit. And people, miners that participate in doing this, and that, or the people who make the Bitcoin network possible, hold on to their Bitcoin. We've seen this for 14 years now. They hold on to it until such a time that they can sell it and make money, make a profit. So that is one more reason, that proof of work is one more reason that Bitcoin has value, because people have done work. Just like gold miners mine gold expecting to make a profit, wanting to make a profit, and miners of gold and other precious metals, when the prices of their metals drop, they stop producing them, they stop mining them because they're not going to make money. Bitcoin works a little bit different but the same thing happens. The Bitcoin miners will continue to produce it, but they're not going to sell it, and they typically don't. We've seen this historically. They don't sell it until they can make a profit, until they can recover their expenses for producing the Bitcoin and make a profit so that they can live off of their activities, right? Just like anybody else that goes out there and works, they work to cover their expenses so they can live. You all understand this. So that is lesson number 1 on why Bitcoin has value, why it's worth something. And on our next lesson, we're going to talk about what is Bitcoin, how does it work? What is actually going on behind the scenes? What are those miners, those computers actually doing? How do you use Bitcoin? Where is it kept? Why is it so secure? All these questions we'll answer in lesson number 2, and look forward to seeing you there.